"The old man is kneeling in the hallway," said Lisa, then burst out laughing. The elite employees brought along by Lisa were also shaking with suppressed laughter. I felt a burning heat rising from the pit of my stomach. Just after, Lisa began looking down on me and laughing. Without any warning, the conference room door opened, and the participants in the negotiation began to enter one after another. The first to enter was a tall, middle-aged man. He had a thick beard and chiseled features. He was Michael, the CEO, and the one holding the fate of the $60 million deal. Michael approached with a smile and extended his right hand. "Long time no see." It was no wonder Lisa was shocked. The first person Michael sought a handshake with was not Lisa, the department head, but me. "Long time no see, Michael. I'm glad to see you're doing well. How's your family?" "Thank you. Everyone's doing well. How's your brother David?" "He's doing great, enjoying life with his kids." As Michael and I shook hands and hugged, calling each other by our first names, Lisa looked utterly incredulous. And Lisa was about to learn an even more shocking fact. "My name is David Anderson. I'm 41 years old. I've been single all my life, and the only family I have is my brother's family, who live out of state. We were raised in a single-mother household. I heard that our father left right after my brother was born. Our mother worked tirelessly day and night to support us. In fact, I never once saw my mother sleeping. She would go to work before we woke up and return after we were already asleep. It was only after losing my mother that I realized just how extraordinary her efforts had been. She passed away when I was a freshman in high school. The cause was overwork. To provide a better life for my brother and me, she took on multiple jobs. According to her co-workers who came to pay their respects, she had been unwell for some time before her death, but stubbornly refused to see a doctor. In other words, she ignored her deteriorating health and continued working, ultimately losing her life as a result. The reason she didn't go to the hospital was likely due to concerns over the cost and time of treatment. That's how tight our finances were. I only found out after she died that she had been pushing herself to the limit to send me to high school. At the time, I was attending a prestigious private school known for its academic excellence. I had intended to go to a public school where I could work part-time, but my mother wouldn't hear of it. She insisted kids shouldn't worry about money and forced me to attend a school that matched my academic level. Knowing this, I blamed myself intensely. Wasn't her death my fault? If I had just gone to a public school and helped with the household expenses, maybe things would have been different. And living in the same house, not noticing her condition, made me feel like a failure as a son. These thoughts swirled in my head, but no amount of regret could bring her back. All I had left was a small amount of savings and my younger brother, 3 years my junior. Our grandparents had passed away long ago, and we had no relatives to rely on. Suddenly, my brother and I were left to live on our own as high school and middle school students. After the funeral, I immediately dropped out of high school. From that day on, I devoted myself entirely to raising my brother in place of our mother. Fortunately, my brother was academically gifted and got into a prestigious high school. He then went on to a top university, landed a job at a major company, and got married at 28. Now, he lives happily with his wife and 2 adorable children. On the other hand, after dropping out of high school, I took the high school equivalency exam and got into college. After graduating, I joined a general trading company, and I've been busy ever since. My office is in a skyscraper in the business district. My desk is in a corner of a spacious, air-conditioned sales floor. When people think of sales at a general trading company, they often imagine ambitious, career-driven individuals, but that's not the case for me. In my teens and 20s, I was obsessed with gaining recognition as quickly as possible. It was frustrating not to be evaluated fairly because of my background and education, and most importantly, I feared that if I fell behind, I wouldn't be able to provide a decent environment for my brother. But as my brother became a university student, started working part-time, graduated, and began earning his own money, he grew up and eventually got married and started his own family. When my only close relative, my brother, got married, I felt both relieved and as if I had lost my life's purpose. I didn't know what to strive for anymore. Of course, I still had to work to make a living. But the drive I had when I was fueled by the mission to support my brother was gone. As a result, for the past 10 years, I've been working somewhat aimlessly. As long as I had enough money to live on my own, I didn't care about my salary or promotions. That's how I felt, but this year, something happened that shook my feelings. It was the presence of Lisa, who was newly assigned to the sales department. Lisa is in her late 30s, younger than me, but she has already been promoted to department head. This made her my younger superior. That alone was challenging, but Lisa was also obsessed with academic credentials. From her first day, she would go on and on about her elite background, making the tough salespeople around her uncomfortable. Lisa graduated from a well-known private university in New York. While it may not be the top university in the country in terms of academic ranking, its brand power is impressive. Lisa knew this well and began to look down on graduates from less prestigious schools. She created an academic hierarchy within the sales department. The first target of Lisa's was my junior colleague, a man named Mark Morgan. He should still be in his 20s, but he had changed jobs several times and joined our company through mid-career recruitment. Unlike most in this industry, Mark is a high school graduate. Due to family circumstances, he had to drop out of university and reluctantly chose to work. He told me this somewhat hesitantly when we ended up sitting next to each other at a drinking party. We hadn't talked much privately because of our age difference, but since hearing his story, I began to secretly care about Mark. Perhaps I felt a kinship because of our similar backgrounds. Even though his highest level of education was high school, he had attended a top university before dropping out. I thought he was quite talented, but Lisa saw things differently. Being obsessed with academic credentials, Lisa couldn't overlook Mark. She called him to her desk almost daily and berated him in front of many employees. "Mark, yes. When I call your name, you should be here within 10 seconds. If you can't follow such a simple instruction, I doubt you even graduated from elementary school, let alone university. I'm sorry." Lisa, visibly irritated, pounded on her desk and glared at Mark. After a dramatic sigh, she hit his head with a rolled-up document. "The materials I asked you to prepare are full of mistakes. There are typos everywhere, and it's hard to read. Redo it and bring it back by noon. But the morning tasks end in about 5 minutes. So what? Do you think a high school graduate gets to rest like we do? Inferior people need to work many times harder than normal folks." Mark fell silent at this cruel remark, but Lisa didn't seem to care. "If it's not done by the time I get back, I'll make you write out the misspelled words as practice," Lisa mercilessly declared to the stunned Mark before tidying up her desk and heading out for lunch. The salespeople on the same floor witnessed this scene, but no one stepped in to defend Mark or protest against Lisa. They probably felt lucky to have one less rival in the race for promotions. I sighed internally and called out to Mark's back. "Mark, let's finish this in 10 minutes. "What, David?" "I'm saying I'll help you. Come on, let's get started." "I don't want to skip lunch. Thank you very much." Thus, we managed to finish correcting the documents by splitting the tasks. It was a close call, but we were able to have lunch. However, just as we sighed in relief for making it on time, Lisa said something shocking after receiving the documents from Mark. You did well for someone with a low education. I'll spare you from the writing practice. Thank you. Now, Mark, shred these documents." "What?" Mark's eyes widened in surprise. After submitting the documents he had been instructed to create and correct, he was now told to dispose of them. Anyone would doubt their own ears. Lisa looked at Mark's bewildered expression with amusement and said, "Didn't you hear me? I said to shred these documents. But these were created based on your instructions, Lisa. I had you make these documents for educational purposes." The documents to be submitted to the client were entrusted to a reliable subordinate. Because, obviously, no one would use documents made by a high school graduate. Mark's shoulders trembled slightly from the humiliation. I couldn't stand it any longer, so I stood up and approached Lisa's desk. Summoning my courage, I spoke to her. Lisa, I think this treatment is going too far. From my perspective, Mark is an excellent employee. Please give him a chance. Huh? What are you suddenly saying? No matter how you look at it, Mark is the most incompetent of my subordinates. A high school graduate is just a high school graduate. When the word incompetent came out of Lisa's mouth, Mark flinched visibly. Seeing this, I couldn't hold back any longer and decided to reveal my own background to Lisa. According to your theory, the most incompetent person here would be me. After all, I didn't even graduate high school. What? Are you saying you falsified your academic background? No, I didn't. After dropping out of high school, I took the high school equivalency exam and got into college. I dropped out because my mother passed away suddenly, and I had to work to support my brother. Upon hearing my words, the sales floor began to buzz. Although I had accurately reported my background during the hiring interview, my colleagues on the floor probably didn't know I had dropped out of high school. Even Lisa only knew my highest level of education and seemed to be silently pondering while glaring at me. Taking advantage of this moment, I continued. I didn't graduate high school, but I don't think I'm inferior to anyone else. In fact, I've worked as an employee without any issues until today. So Mark II, chauffeur. What? What did you say? I said you're my chauffeur from now on. Don't think you can handle a job with just a high school equivalency. It seemed my confession had completely enraged Lisa. From that day on, Lisa treated me as her chauffeur. I wasn't allowed to do my usual sales job and was instead made to drive her to client meetings and carry her bags. This continued for a while until one day, our sales department got a huge job. It was an overseas deal worth $60 million. If we could secure this deal, the company's evaluation of us would undoubtedly rise. Excited, Lisa decided to take her favorite subordinates and personally handle the negotiations. I was to accompany them as a chauffeur and porter. Seeing the name of the client, I felt uneasy, so I begged Lisa to let me sit in on the meeting. However, upon arriving at the conference room where the negotiations would take place, Lisa ruthlessly tried to send me away. David, you stay here. Why? You said I could sit in as long as I didn't speak. I don't trust the word of someone with a low education. Besides, someone like you might ruin the client's impression. Wait in the car. Lisa smirked, seemingly enjoying my reaction. She probably never intended to let me participate in the negotiations. Suppressing my rising anger, I calmly spoke to Lisa. Please, Lisa. I'm an employee, not just a chauffeur. I'll stay at the back, just let me be here. If you insist that much, I'll make an exception. But there's a condition. Can you handle it? What condition? You'll kneel in the hallway. Lisa laughed loudly. The elite employees she brought along also stifled their laughter, their shoulders shaking. I felt a burning anger in the pit of my stomach. Just after Lisa began looking down on me and laughing. Without any warning, the conference room doors opened, and the participants in the negotiation began to enter one after another. The first to enter was a tall, middle-aged man, with a thick beard and chiseled features, looking very much like a Westerner. He was Michael, the CEO and the person holding the fate of the $60 million deal. Michael approached us with a smile, extended his right hand. Long time no see, David. It was no wonder Lisa was shocked. The first person Michael sought a handshake with was not Lisa, the department head, but me. Long time no see, Michael. I'm glad to see you're doing well. How's your family? Thank you. Everyone's doing well. How's your brother? He's doing great, enjoying life with his kids. As Michael and I shook hands and hugged, calling each other by our first names, Lisa looked utterly incredulous. Then, she cautiously asked a question. Do you two know each other? Oh, didn't I tell you? David and I have known each other for 20 years. In fact, the reason we do business with your company is because of him. No way. Lisa was so flustered that she forgot to introduce herself to Michael. The person she had looked down on for having a low education and being incompetent was actually on friendly terms with the CEO of the client company, which completely threw her off balance. To add insult to injury, Michael whispered to Lisa. This time he said not in French, but in English. If you're not feeling well, you can kneel in the hallway and wait. Huh? Why are you speaking English? And that line? Lisa asked, wide-eyed. Apparently, she was fooled by Michael's appearance and assumed that he could not speak their real language. Michael exaggeratedly shrugged and answered, You don't even know the name of your business partner? My name is Michael Rue. I may look like this, but I am an American. So, that kneeling in the hallway. You heard it? I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but it seemed busy, so I waited by the door for a bit. By the way, my team has also members who understands English. Upon hearing Michael's words, Lisa's face turned pale. Her mistreatment of me had been fully exposed to Michael and the other negotiation partners. Moreover, this negotiation involved a massive $60 million deal. Realizing the gravity of her blunder, Lisa collapsed on the spot, her legs giving way. Lisa was in a state of shock, completely drained of spirit. We couldn't leave her on the floor, so we managed to get her to a seat, but she was in no condition to present in French. The previous events had clearly been a significant shock, and she hardly responded to our calls. Since Lisa, who was supposed to lead the negotiations, was now unusable, I had to step in as her substitute. The elite employees chosen by Lisa were afraid of being blamed if the negotiations failed and suggested postponing the meeting, but Michael did not allow it. The responsibility fell on me to handle the presentation in French and understand the deal's content thoroughly. Thanks to a French friend I made in college, I was able to speak some French by the time I started working for this company. Throughout my career, I had honed my business skills through overseas training and dealings with international clients. In particular, my interactions with Michael, multilingual person, had a great impact on my language skills. I wasn't worried about the presentation's content. Upon learning that the negotiation partner was Michael's company, I had secretly reviewed the negotiation details and presentation materials whenever I could, despite being relegated to menial tasks by Lisa. Although I didn't expect a substitute for Lisa, I knew that my good relationship with Michael could help the negotiations proceed smoothly. It wasn't exactly the way I had envisioned it, but Lisa's presentation, which I had to step in for, was a resounding success. The other members of the negotiation team also gave high marks, and we managed to secure the $60 million contract that very day. Incidentally, after the negotiation, Lisa was still staring blankly into space, even after returning to the office. Seeing her in such a state, the female employees accompanied Lisa back to her home. From the next day onwards, Lisa stopped coming to work. Shortly after we secured the $60 million deal, a new project was initiated. Due to a report from Michael to our company, Lisa's excessive harassment and abusive behavior towards subordinates were exposed, leading to her removal from the department head position and, naturally, exclusion from the projects team. Given that Lisa had been absent from work since the day after the negotiation, she would have been removed from the team sooner or later, even without Michael's report. The employees of our sales department reported to the company about how Lisa judged subordinates solely based on their academic background and her treatment of targeted employees, especially Mark. An internal investigation would take some time, but it was certain that Lisa would be formally disciplined. In the meantime, Lisa was ordered to stay at home until the investigation was completed. Soon, an interim department head from outside the company took over Lisa's position, and for some reason, I was appointed as the project leader in place of Lisa. The interim head explained that I was chosen because of my performance in the presentation during the negotiation, but I suspect it was Michael's recommendation. As the new project's leader, I included Mark in the team. I had always noticed Mark's linguistic talent. Despite having no study abroad experience, Mark spoke French with very clear pronunciation. His secret lay in his extraordinary auditory ability. With his excellent hearing, Mark could replicate sounds he heard perfectly. While he still made many mistakes in reading and writing, Mark's excellent hearing was a significant asset in business with overseas clients. Believing in his potential, I brought Mark onto the team and made sure he interacted frequently with Michael's team. Thanks to this, Mark's French skills improved rapidly. Even Michael and his team were amazed at how quickly Mark absorbed the language. With Mark as a valuable new asset, the project progressed smoothly. There were certainly other suitable candidates besides me, but since I had been entrusted with the leadership, I was determined to make the projects a success. Later, the internal investigation into Lisa's misconduct was completed. As a result, Lisa was demoted to a regular employee and transferred to a regional branch. Lisa had risen to the position of department head in her 30s. Such rapid promotion would have been impossible without a relentless drive for success. In fact, Lisa had been aiming to be the top among her peers since joining the company, often stepping over others without hesitation. For someone so ambitious, being transferred to a rural branch must have been the ultimate humiliation. Moreover, Lisa's goal wasn't just to climb the corporate ladder. She had always aspired to be an overseas representative. From her initial job interview, Lisa had expressed her desire for an overseas posting, but unfortunately, that wish never materialized. Perhaps her being a woman played a part in this. In any case, this incident had completely shut the door on Lisa's chances of becoming an overseas representative. It's no wonder she was left in a state of shock and dismay. Moreover, shortly after Lisa resumed work at her new branch, an even more shocking event occurred. It was announced that Mark, the subordinate she had always belittled, was being assigned as an overseas representative. The subordinate she had looked down upon had effortlessly achieved her long-held dream. One could hardly imagine a greater psychological blow. Since hearing the news about Mark, Lisa has taken a leave of absence from the company. As for me, I continue to lead a life of commuting between home and work. The main difference is that I am now slightly more positive about my job. The projects I worked on with Michael's company was a great success, and as a result, I was promoted to department head. I initially turned down the offer, thinking I wasn't suited for the position, but with encouragement from my colleagues, I eventually accepted. Now, I manage a large team, striving every day to help them maximize their potential. The increased workload has been physically taxing, but I feel mentally healthier than before. I believe the sense of duty to mentor my younger subordinates has given me new energy. It's a feeling I hadn't experienced since my brother got married. The arrival of a younger boss brought about many changes in my life. I never expected to bring up my high school dropout story at this age, but ultimately, it was because of Lisa that I regained my lost motivation. Yes, I realized I really do love this job where I can interact directly with people. I thought this as I rode in the car with a new subordinate heading to meet a client.